Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on what's new in FCS Express, and especially what's new in FCS Express 724 that was released soon before Christmas. So today with me online, Greg Veltri and Robin Kamucheka, and they will help me today answering questions. So feel free to reach the chat and feel free to type in any question you might have. No need to wait for the end of the webinar. Even better, if you have a question in the middle, just write in and we will take care of that. If the question is very specific, we might follow up with you later today or tomorrow, but I think most of the time we can answer directly. I see people connecting. I want to anticipate that the webinar is going to be recorded. It's actually recorded. And this means that if you want to rewatch it, if you want to share it with some of your colleagues that maybe weren't able to attend, feel free. So you will all receive in about a week the link with the recording. Okay. So in the meantime, if you want to just type in the chat like hello, we are here, just to see if it works on your side, so that we will wait a few more people. Okay, still people connecting. Great, I see. Hello. Thanks. Okay. We will wait probably like other 30 seconds. Hello? Yep. I will also keep an eye on the chat, so I might be able to like answer in real time if you ask question. Thanks. Okay, I think we can get started. So again, my name is Andrea Vale. I'm product manager for FCS Express, and I want to provide you some highlights on what's new in 724. We will not be able to go through every single enhancement or new feature. So partly because there are a lot. This was a huge release, 724, and partly also because we have other specific webinar this week. For example, tomorrow we will have a webinar specifically devoted to highlights on quadrants. So I will just give you some overview on that one. And then I have selected a bunch of topics that I want to touch with you tonight. So I try to categorize them in different, let's say, area. You see, for example, you can see my pointer. We have like integration, like new export capability. We have interface and user experience. I would say like usability overall. A few new features about statistics and tokens. New features for regulated and validated environments, so for clinical people, CRO, and so on. I will not go into much detail in these because, as I say, we have a webinar, and in this case, it will be Thursday. So if you're interested in that part, and maybe you cannot attend that webinar, no worry, just register to the webinar so that you will receive the link to the recording. Then, a lot of new features and announcements on quadrants. The webinar will be tomorrow. I just want to show you a little bit about what we've done in terms of improving the naming of quadrants, because I personally really like that announcement. And then we have really a lot of things about quadrants, like new linking ability. So now we can link every single branch of the quadrants, not just the center point, as it happened in 722. We have new icons. We have the ability to shape the behavior of quadrants to mimic the new behavior or to mimic the old behavior. So depending on what you really want. So we know that most of the people want the new behavior, so quadrant being gates, and we developed that because of the tons of requests that we received. But in case there is anyone who want to stick with the old behavior, maybe for like all templates, then there is a way to do that. We spend quite a lot of time in kind of like performances, mainly related to the internet dongle, so connection and ping. But we did also two things that I really like and actually apply to every users basically. The first one that I also want to show you later on, it's a new live updating, which is able to switch off automatically in case the computer cannot really update the layout in real time. So no longer a message asking for the user to take a decision. And then we have a new optimization for data loading, which is a special scenario in which data are not stored locally, but are on the network. And these very, very frequently apply to big pharma, CRO, or anyway, if you have data on a file server or file sharing. So in that case, we were able to bypass a little bit the network bottleneck by caching all the file when the layout starts up. We changed, and I'm moving here, we changed the appearance of plots, and this will be the first thing that I want to show you. And we added a couple of options, for example, showing the zero on the axis. This was also requested very frequently, and also a small feature about the legend. And then we have a very small announcement for people doing high-dimensional data analysis. I will not show it, it's really, really specific. Okay, so this is what we have done in 722. Actually, there are other things. So if you want to go to the release note, you will see that there are many more announcements, but those are the ones that I want to comment and present you today. So the first one that I want to mention is the new style of plot. So let me just open this layout. What you see here are three plots, one density and one histogram, that I draw using the style that applied to like previous version of FCS Express 7. Basically, we used, and this was like a long-lasting style because it's there since many versions. So we have a border around the title, a border around the plot, the axis color and the font color is blue navy. The axis thickness is size 2. And the histogram, as you can see, on top of having all the above, has no filling, no transparency. Now, if you are installing FCS 724, then you will directly use the new style. If you are updating your version of FCS Express to 724, then you can see the new changes if you restore your user options. To restore the user option, I don't need it because this is a brand new installation. But if you do here, File System, the first option that you have here is Restore option to default values. So when we have new features, the new features are directly accessible when you update to a new version. But when it comes to modify the default setting, we do not force that modification, that update, because you might want to stick with the old default setting. But if you want to try the new one, then restore. Just consider that when you restore, you're restoring everything. So if there is some user option that you really want to maintain, after resetting to default, then go back and change that option specifically. Now, I want to create a density plot here, and I want to open the same, okay, and I also want to open, an histogram, just to show you the comparison. Okay, so you see what we have done. Let me zoom in a little bit if it's small for you. we apply those changes based on a bunch of surveys that we run in 2024 about aesthetics preferences among our users. So you see the color, fonts color and lines are all black now, no more blue navy. There is no border around the plots, no border around the titles. The outlier dot size, if you are using density plot, like in this case, is slightly larger. It's 3, if I'm not wrong, 3 or 2 instead of 1, so they are slightly more visible. There is a frame around the plot area, which was not there in the previous version, and the axes are thinner than before. So regarding the histogram, we are applying a filling by default, and we are applying a transparency by default to that filling. Of course, you can always go back. So if you update, if you restore your user option and you want to go back, remember that FCS Express allows plot themes. So themes are controlled in your user options. If you go to File, Options, and you go here, plot, okay? No need to expand the plot category, just click on plot. You see current theme. So the FCS Express 7 default, which is the default now, it's what you see here, okay, at the right. The old theme has been saved as FCS Express 7.0 to 7.22. So was the previous theme that we have been using since up to December for version 7. So you can always go back. And of course, that you always have the flexibility to slightly change any single detail on this plot, just format, and remember, you can set as default or save as a plot theme. So those options are still there. Now, something that I want to show you, and I need to load any parameter with some negative number, is that you might notice that sometimes, based on the range of data that you show, the 0, it's not visible. So in this case, I'm showing FATC parameter, and with this scale, with the exponential, with this setting of the exponential scale, I cannot see the 0 value. But many users wrote in asking whether we could force the 0, because indeed it's a kind of important tick. So what you can do is format, go into the axis category. In this case, we are looking at the x-axis category. So nothing changed here except that we now have this checkbox, okay, under label. So you see it's not set by default, but feel free to check it. Feel free also to check it in your user options if you want to force it on every plot and every axis. Once you check it, you see the 0 is displayed. And of course, if you resize the plot, then you will reveal maybe other, let me do something crazy, super big. Okay, maybe you will reveal other tick, okay, but the 0 will have the priority. So the 0 will always be shown, okay? This can be applied to any axis, X and Y, and also to the axis of histogram and all the other plot types. So it's not specific for any plot type. And another small announcement that we have done on top of this 0 is about the legend. So let me just display the legend here, okay, visible. And I think this makes really sense when the legend is vertical, like this. So this is the default. The top value, the top color, it's basically the lowest, and the bottom is the highest. And we realize that indeed this is a little bit counterintuitive. So you might want to use this in this case. So you can invert the shade and also the value. Okay. Now, if I go back to my to my presentation, how about usability? So user interface and user experience. I want to open a new layout. And the first thing that I want to show you is that we added radio button, okay, to the data list. And then I will go further in this list, and I want to show you 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, for a matter of time, I won't be able to show you everything. So maybe at the end of this section, I will mention briefly 6, 7, and 8. But let's focus on this. Okay, so we run a bunch of usability study with new users. So this might be useful if you have, might be very interesting if you have like, if you're a new user, of course, but if you have some new colleagues that are new to FCS Express, or if you are site license administrator, if you are a core facility manager. So usability study clearly show us that there are some new users that find the blue number here not very clear in terms of clickability. So what we've done was adding a radial button, and now you can click anywhere you want, either on the radial button or on the blue number, but we already saw that the addition of this small item really make it clear that you can click on an iteration to load it. So again, it's a graphically small announcement, but we saw that it's really effective for new user to clearly understand and see that this is a clickable item. So it improved the affordance of that button. I want to show you now that what we've done in terms of like plot was not only changing the aesthetics, but now what you can do on plot is that you can change the gate applied to the plot by just clicking on the plot title. So in the past, let me, for example, open a new plot. Okay, this one. This is ungated. So in previous version of FCS Express, we had a bunch of ways in which you can apply a gate to this plot. For example, you can drag and drop a gate from a plot. For example, I can drag and drop the CD3 gate, okay, and apply the CD3. I can drag and drop from the gate navigator. So for example, I can drag and drop the self gate on this plot, and you see that the gate applied to this plot changes. But what you can do now is simply acting on the plot. So even if you don't see the gate you're interested in a different place of the layout, like in a plot or in the gate navigator, maybe because the gate navigator is closed, maybe because you just started a new page, okay? You can simply click here. You can also right-click to expand, okay? And then select whatever you want. So if you want to go back to no gate, simply click on no gate. So the idea here, and also the idea of the announcement that I'm going to show you in a few seconds, is that we realized that users really like interacting with the plots, directly with the plots, directly on plots. And that's why we added this option, which is really consistent with what you can do with axis. If you know how to change parameter on the axis, then you know how to change the gate on plots. So the other interactive action that you can take now with plot is changing the scale directly on the plot. So let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, we have here a plot with two floor countries. I'm right-clicking, and you see this is a new option. Okay, at the very bottom of the right-click menu, show axis scale adjustment sliders. What I want to do with this one is changing, for example, the below zero of the B exponential scale, or the cofactor of the arc sin H, or the transition point of the hyperlog scale. So, of course, you could do this also in 722 and in version 7. So the way we used to do it was selecting the plot, going to format, clicking on axis, and then changing either the Y or the axis you see here and moving this slide. Okay, this is what I'm saying, what I'm doing now. I'm changing the below zero parameter for the Y axis, the CD4 pin side there. So you see this require a bunch of click, right? So you click on format, you click on axis, you click on the axis you want, you uncheck the automatic and so on. So let me go back And now I want to show you what you can do with this option in the right-click menu. So axis scale adjustment sliders. Now I have two sliders, so I can move these sliders, okay, and then changing the below zero parameter directly. Now I'm saying below zero because this is the exponential scale. But if you're using hyperlog or XNH, then you will be able to change either the transition point or the cofactor. When you want to hide those sliders, you can right click and then select hide axis scale adjustment sliders. Okay. If you don't do that, then every time you click on the plot, those sliders will be available and will be accessible. Now, what I want to do is showing also that what we've done on the plot is adding a warning message in case there are events that are outside of the plot area. Okay, someone says events that are outside of the plot, someone says out of range events. Basically events that are not visible on the plot because they are somehow behind the axis, okay? How can that happen? Because maybe you change the minimum and the maximum, or because you change the below zero parameter, as we did, in a way that it ends up with events behind the axis. So for example, you can try this one. Of course, if I increase it, okay, all events are there. But what about if I decrease it really a lot? Okay, you see that events here will be behind of the axis. Okay. Now, this is what we've done. You will see that if I decrease this at some point, a warning method, a warning sentence will appear at the footer of this plot. So you see down, 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 and now it tells me that 5.33% events are outside the plot area. Okay? So by default, there is a threshold of 5%. So that's why in this case, you don't see anything. It might be 3, might be 2, might be 4, but it's lower than 5. If you increase it, then you see more and more events are outside the plot area. Now, I want to show you how these work because you can customize it. You can customize it both in terms of threshold. So maybe you want to be more stringent and be warned if the frequency of events that are not visible is higher than 0 or higher than 1. Or maybe you want to be more flexible and just being prompt if the frequency of invisible events is higher than 10% or whatever. So this option, it's there and it's available because let me make some room. We have a new token in FCS Express. So let me just open a text box. And the new token is a plot-specific token. Okay, you don't need to do all this. I just want to show you how these work in the ground. Under plot information, there is a new token called percentage of events outside the plot area. And in this plot token, you can select any plot. Okay, so if you want to know the percentage of events outside the plot area from plot number 3, you can select plot number 3. In this case, we are focusing on this one, so I would select this. Okay, this is the frequency of events outside the plot area. And I can show you that these, okay, in this case it's 0, okay, now it's 0.44, 3, 4, no message on the plot, right? Because as I told you, the threshold is 5%. Okay, now I can see it. So we leverage on this token, customize the footer of plot that you will create using the default options. So that this message will appear when the percentage is higher than 5. And if you select this plot, actually, if you select any plot that you created in 7.24 with the new setting, you go to axis, you go to title. The header is the same as usual. So in the header, you have the file name and you have the date applied to the plot, but the footer is now default. So in the footer, we added a sentence, which is actually a formula. Let me just copy and paste it to show you what's inside. Okay, this is the formula. If the frequency of events outside the plot area, so this is the token that I just showed you, it's higher than 5, then the footer will report this sentence. Here we go. Otherwise, else, plot nothing. So don't show anything in the footer. So if you go in the footer of a plot, let's say here, and you say, okay, I want to change, I want to customize this one, and I want to change, for example, the text, okay? Frequency of events are outside the plot area. Maybe you want to say percentage of events are not visible, okay? Here we go. And this sentence will be customized with whatever you write. And if you go to the left of the formula, okay, I'm just scrolling to the left, then you can also change the threshold. So in this case, the threshold by default is 5, okay, you see here. So the value of this token should be higher than 5 to display this warning. I can set it to 7, and you will see immediately that this warning will go away. Okay, and it will appear only if this value will be higher than 7. Now, what I showed you here about changing the footer of this plot only applies to this plot. But if you go your user options and you select plot, title, footer, then you have exactly the same formula. If you change the formula here, you will change it on all the plots that you will create in the future. Just one trick. You see that the name of this token is usually pretty long. So if you want to make it shorter while customizing this formula, you can simply right-click and show it as a value instead of as a description. So if I do it, you see it will show the value. So it's just like 5 characters instead of like a full sentence. And I can do it also here. So it doesn't change anything in the plot itself, but it just changes how you read the sentence. So it might be easier for you. Okay, another thing that I want to show you is that in the past, if you want to delete a plot, you had to click on the border and then press delete. In version 7.22 and previous versions, you couldn't delete a plot while the plot was in edit mode, so green border. And I saw a lot of new users that used to click within the plot, so green border, and then press delete, and the plot was not deleted. Nowadays, you can delete also if the plot is in green border, in edit mode. Okay, so let me continue. The only crucial point is that you should just select the plot itself. So there is a sort of like safety block. So if you select, for example, a text box, the text box, the plot won't be deleted, okay? If you select a specific object like a gate, the plot won't be deleted, the gate will be deleted. But still, if you just select the plot like this way and you press delete, now it will be deleted. Okay, so let me recite a few, I want to spend a few words about those three. Progress bar. So we started and we will keep adding progress bar when performing, let's say, any type of action that takes more than a second, let's say. So if you're, for example, if you're loading a data from the network again, and it takes like a fraction of a second, then you will not see any progress bar. But if it takes like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 10 seconds, then you will see a progress bar. This is the same that we usually do, for example, when you run high dimensional data analysis, like you run a t-SNE, you will see a progress bar telling you which is the progression of the calculation. So we are adding this for loading data. We are adding this for exporting FCS file or exporting concatenated data. We are doing this when you load a layout. So the idea is to make it transparent that FCS Express is doing something and not just for you waiting and you don't see anything on the screen. So again, only for long processes. Hyperlink notification messages. It happens that FCS Express prompt you with a warning message. For example, I don't know, you try to load conventional FCS file as a multi-well played FCS file. So FCS Express throws a message saying, look, this is not a multi-well played file. So in the past, these type of messages were just text. Now you will see an hyperlink, so you can click and you will be directed to the web page with more information about that warning. And finally, we rewrote some option, some instrument-specific setting about spectral data, just the naming to make it more user-friendly. So this only apply by the user. Ability to batch export the full content of a spreadsheet inside FCS Express and Luma integration. Those are the two new integrations that we added to 724. So let me go back to this. Okay. So this is, no, sorry, let me close this and let me open this one. Here we go. So this layout is a very, very simple layout in which, let me bring it to on the main screen. This is the same layout that we used before to play with the scale or to delete plots and so on. This is a very basic layout. So few plots, few gates, see, I have an integrated spreadsheet. So what we could do in the past in FCS Express was exporting statistics and token from plots to Excel, exporting statistics and tokens to GraphPad, also to CSV file. But what we could not do was exporting an entire spreadsheet to Excel. So every time you wanted to export to Excel, you had to derive statistic from dates, from plots. But if you had already a spreadsheet like this, the only way was to export these manually, let's say, for file using this button. So this is still an option, of course, if you want to just export this one. But what about if you want to export these integrated spreadsheet for the 6 files I have? So instead of selecting this and export, then load the second one, export, then load the third one and export. Now, if you go to batch actions, we have this option, save spreadsheet to Excel. So in this case, we are setting up this export, and FCS Express will export these integrated spreadsheet for each file, creating 6 Excel files. So I wanna do that with you. So I wanna do this with you. So save spreadsheet to Excel. So this is exported. And since we are going to export and to generate 6 different Excel, 1 per file, I will add the file name, a token, okay? And maybe I will add the $file, the file name. okay? Otherwise, if you don't have a token, I mean, it won't work, but ideally, you will export the second one overwriting the first one, the third one overwriting the second one. So, but anyway, it won't work because FCS Express will tell you, will warn you. But in this case, you see the file will be called exported space and then the file name .xls. So which spreadsheet we want to export? In this case, I only have the spreadsheet that you see in the round, but in this case, you can select anyone. You also have some spreadsheet options here. So you can name the worksheet in the Excel file with a custom name. So in this case, it will just be called FCS Express report. So I can click OK. Now, I don't have to select any statistics here because we already told FCS Express that we want to export these integrated spreadsheet as a whole. So what I can do is simply click on Run. And you see FCS Express, it's exporting. And let me close. Let me navigate on the folder where I'm saving. Here we go. So you see I have 6 files here. The name again is exported space file name .xlsx. And in each of those files, you have basically the same integrated spreadsheet dedicated to that file. Okay. If you want to record that file name also inside the spreadsheet, well, just add it to the spreadsheet in FCS Express. So whatever is in the spreadsheet in FCS Express will be placed here. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to write in the chat. Okay. So how about Luma integration? So Luma integration, this is one of those new features that I won't present in detail today because we will have a dedicated webinar, not this week, but we are going to schedule it soon. Luma, it's a AI native, so artificial intelligence native multimodal research platform, which means that the idea is that you can integrate basically data from any instrument on the market and for dozens of software into the same platform, into the same space, which is Luma. And this allows you to integrate data that comes from different techniques. Like you can save flow cytometry data, but you can save chemistry, you can save spectrometry, you can save sequencing. Any type of data basically can be saved into Luma. So the idea is that you will have a single place where you can access and easily generate query to find your data, to compare your data, to graph your data. And of course, as I said at the beginning, AI native, you can also leverage on the artificial intelligence of Luma to explore your data and search for new results. So how this export is handled by FCS Express, I just want to show you that this is another type of batch processing. You see here export to Luma. It's really similar to the export to Excel or CSV. So with the extra feature that instead of being able to only export numbers or keywords, so text, in Luma, you can also export the layout. You can export pictures. You can export PDF, PowerPoint. You can export. You can export the gating hierarchy with the gating ML standard. You can export raw data, FCS file. So the idea is that once you have your Luma account, you will add here the URL of the Luma account. There is an API key which is personal, and then you can define the folder in the Luma page where to save your data. In this case, if I click OK, it will give me an error because I'm not specifying any URL and any API. But let me just click on continue. because I want to show you that adding items to export to Luma is the same that you do when you export to Excel or Word. So for example, you can drag and drop a gate to the Luma and then select the statistic you want, okay? You can also use the add item section here. For example, you can export a picture of any plot you want or the entire page, for example, like this case. Okay, you can export gating ML, as I said. You can export booksy, the entire layout, PowerPoint, PDF, of course. You can export FCS files. So those will all be sent to, in the folder that's defined in the account that you have defined. So as I say, we will organize a webinar on this. We will also add, because this is really new, we will add also a video on our webpage, on our website. But in case you have any question, you can either write to our support, or you can also navigate. If you just wanna, for example, download the demo of Luma and play around, then just navigate to dotmatics.com /Luma. At the beginning that we also included new features and new ameliorations about statistics and tokens. And the first one that I want to mention is that statistic naming has been changed. Sorry, I shouldn't phrase. The setting that are set to default for statistic naming have been changed. And let me go back to this one. So you might remember that if you drag and drop, let me, for example, here this one. If you drag and drop a gate or a marker or whatever in a spreadsheet, or maybe when you export to Excel, in 722 and 720, it selects a statistic like file name or let's do number of events and percentage of gate itself. Those are probably the most frequently used. So in the past, the default setting for the naming of those two statistics was quite, let's say, was poor informative, I would say, because the name of the statistic was just number of events. So we didn't use to report the gate of interest. And also in this case, the name was just percentage of gated sales from plot. So we could change the default setting in 722, in 720. It was here, file options, statistic naming option. So you see, for example, population of interest. So the issue is that we realized that most of the users didn't know that they could go here and change the setting. The setting was set to omit in the past. And so users were sometimes obliged to customize this cell and also in the Excel export manually. While in this case, in the default setting, so we are depending the population of interest, like in this case, it should be much easier now. Again, if you go back, file option, statistic naming option, you can change this. So for example, you can move this section. Instead of prepending, you can append it, so it will be moved at the end of the name. But anyway, at least the default setting is a bit more user-friendly, I would say. Then let me also here with a meeting. If it happened to you to use the statistic table instead of creating a spreadsheet on your own, you can right-click statistic and open, for example, gate statistic. Now, what we've done already in version 722 was that if you select statistic table, the plot that statistic table referred to is blue highlighted. And these go in both ways. So if you select the plot, the statistic, it's blue highlighted. So you can easily know which is the link. So which table is linked to which plot and vice versa. What we've done here is adding the title to the statistics table. This means that First of all, it's clear that the statistic refer to a specific plot. And second, that if you export, if you print, if you save to a PDF, then you will clearly see the number of the plot ID. And remember, this might be a good trick. You can report the plot ID at any time, for example, in the title. This might be something useful to know. I see some users do it by default. So you see here, I can start a new row in the title of this plot. I can select here plot number. Okay, so this is plot number 3. You can also append some text, for example, plot ID, whatever. Okay, sorry, I mistyped it, plot. Okay, so you can also set it as default. So in any plot, you will see the plot ID, or you can keep it really like this. Okay, so anyway, you see plot number 3, this is plot number 3. Okay, then if it happened to you to use this table for histogram, so let me open an histogram. Okay, and let me open this histogram statistic table. Now, this is another default setting that has been changed. We used to not show this column, the marker column. So what we've done in 724 was checking this column by default so that it's visible every time you open a statistic table from an instrument. Again, if it's the first time that you install 724, then it's okay, you will see it. If you are updating things from 722, then simply restore your user option. So this column is very useful because now if I just add a marker, okay, the name of the marker will be added here, will be visible. And if I add another marker, then I will see it. Without this column, it was quite hard to clearly see which marker was referring to each line. And of course, you could activate it manually, but in this case, it's all done. Another interesting small feature that we have done. Sorry, let me go back to the statistics. Okay, by default, we always show the no gate row here. Okay, no gate in this case means basically the statistic that refer to the whole content of this plot. Okay, I can also open from this plot, and I will also have a no gate row. So this is statistic from plot 4. Okay, no gate. Now you can hide it. Okay, so if you select these statistic table and you go to format gate to display, okay, what you could do in 722 was selecting which row to show or hide except the no gate. Okay, now in this case, you can hide the statistic for the no gate. So if I uncheck this checkbox, this table will only include the 2 rows for the cells and for the T3 gate. So you will see that the first row will go away. Okay, here we go. And the same here, I can uncheck it. And now I can only see 2 rows. So if you want to make the table simpler, and you are annoyed by the fact that you always see the no gate row, then you can hide it. So let me go back now to my presentation because time is running. We also added the ability to show or hide statistics for specific overlays. So if you want to learn more on these, simply send us an email. It's a very minor feature, again, with the idea to simplify the statistics that you can open, plot-specific statistics. This I really like. So in terms of performance, I will only show you this one. Let me open this layout. So in the past, we have live updating, which is active by default, but it happens that you're dealing with, let me load some data. it happens that you deal with, let's say, big data set or maybe medium-sized data set, but on an old computer. And in that case, and in that case, FCS Express used to prompt you about disabling the live updating features. Now, what we have done, and I'm almost there, what we've done was, here we go, now I open. And what we've done was improving the live updating so that FCS Express automatically understands if the hardware it's not performant enough to keep the live updating smooth to provide you with a nice user experience. And in that case, it will automatically disable the live updating only for that specific gate. So in this case, those are like 100 and something megabyte file. I intentionally opened two pages so that I have more stuff to update. And I want to show you that, for example, I moved this gate, okay, live updating, it's working properly. So FCS Express understand that my laptop is enough to update live this gate, okay? If I move this one, let's see, it's the same, okay? What about if I move the singlet? Okay, I will try moving the singlets and you see FCS Express automatically disable the live updating. Now FCS Express will update my layout only when I will drop my gate, only when I will release my mouse button. So if I drop it here, layout will be updated. So now FCS Express knows that the singlet gate is particularly slow on my computer. So it will not live update for this gate until next time I will open this layout. While this option is not saved, because you might open the layout on another computer, and in that case, you will still have live update. So no longer messages that ask you whether you want to disable or not, it will happen automatically. Still, if you want to like switch it off or switch it on, so force this option, and not leaving FCS Express to take the decision, you can go to Info, Layout Options, and under Performance, you can check, specify the value below. So if you do this, you will force live updating. If you do this, you will force not to live updating. If you keep the first one, which is the default, FCS Express will decide for you. And about the other few options, this is really cool. For those of you loading data from the network, it will be much faster in 724, so I suggest you to try. And then we speed up internet dongle and the welcome screen in case there are a lot of network layout. Last but not least, Quadrant. Again, there is a webinar tomorrow. I suggest you to register to this webinar. So if you go to the novosoftware.com videos upcoming webinars, you can register for the webinars scheduled for tomorrow. Okay, so it will be all dedicated to Quadrant. The only thing that I want to show you is the new naming capability for Quadrant that I really like. So in 722, we, I would say automatically, but let's say FCS Express took the decision of how to name quadrants like Q1, Q2, or SL1 positive, SL2 negative, and so on. I just want to create one quadrant on a plot and show you what you can do now. So first of all, quadrants by default are created hierarchically, but you can change this option also in your user options. You will see more tomorrow. And if they are created hierarchically, the default setting is that the parent will be the gate applied to the plot. So this plot is gated on CD8, and the quadrant will be clear of the CD8. So far, so good. What about naming? You see the name is composed by a prefix, and then FCS Express automatically the name of the parameter action file. Here you can see an example, okay? So it will be called Q1, CCR7, CFLUOR, blah, 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 negative, PD27, CFLUOR, blah, 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 positive. Q1, Q2, whatever, it's useful if you want to create more quadrants on the same pair of parameters. Okay, otherwise maybe you can remove it. And you see the live updating example shows you how they will be named. And maybe you want to hide the foreground, so simply do this. Okay? And then it will simply be called CCR7 negative, CD27 positive, and all the other combination. Okay, more things on quadrants again tomorrow, but I really like this one, so I wanted to provide you a preview. What's next? And these are the my last slide, last few slides, and then I will have a look at questions in case there are any. What's new? So what we're working on for 726, 728. So in the next, let's say, 6 months. I showed you that we added sliders to change the scale, okay, directly on plot. We will do the same to change compensation. So this is just an animation, but this is what we will do. We will also enable a double click on gate to open gated plot. So now you can open gated plot by using drag and drop. So you drag and drop a gate outside of the plot, you drop it, and then you get a new plot gated on that gate. What you will be able to do is doing the same by simply double clicking on a gate. Then we are revamping the welcome screen. This is just very preliminary preview, but the idea is to make it simpler. Okay, the welcome screen nowadays is this one. Okay, you see recent news, a lot of colorful buttons here, new layout, open layout, and then the list of the most recent 4 layout. This is the idea for the future. So giving you the ability to access more than 4 recent layout and fewer buttons to really focus on what's needed. And you see here options. You will be able to accept your user option. And if you are an administrator for site licenses or internet dongle or network licenses, the ability to manage users directly from this dialog instead of first logging into the website or loading FCS Express and going to file, security, and so on. And we are working on marker automations. The idea is to giving users the ability to place markers that can adjust and adapt to the data based on the data itself, based on the data distributions. So this is a very basic example. I just placed the marker on the positive peak, and you can see that while I'm switching through iteration, the marker adjusts itself. So nowadays you can do this manually, so with like iteration snapshots. So you load the data, you move the markers, you load the data, you move the markers, and FCS Express remembers the position of the markers. But this is not what I'm showing. This is a self-updating markers that update based on the data distribution. And last but not least, we are working on dark mode. So this is just very again preliminary preview, but we are working on this because this somehow is something that people are requesting a lot. So having this ability. And then other thing, but those are the ones that I think are really cool. So if you are not yet an FCS Express user, you can download the trial. Just go on our website, and at the very top, you can click on free trial. This is the page that will open. If you have any question right now, you can send in an email, or remember that you can access video guide, help and manual, and tutorial. And of course, you can also give us a call if you like. So just click on support to have all the detail on how to contact us. We are basically available, I would say like 24 hours a day because our team is it's based in different time zones. So we cover like 5 different time zones. So we can really answer in no time. And many thanks.